Hi, I'm Annika Johnsons from Al Johnson's in Sister Bay. I hope you enjoy my new video series called Door County Girl. These are stories of my life, the people and places that I love, and of course how we all survive here in northern Wisconsin. You can come back as often as you like, but don't forget to subscribe to Al's YouTube channel. I'll be posting lots of really cool new videos. So let's go! Welcome to another episode of Door County Girl. Today I'm here with my friend Katherine Hastings, and I call her Kate, and she does a lot of things for Kit and I when we work together in the way of Facebook posts, things like that. Do you help with sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes I'll help you guys out with some photography stuff.
Yeah, because you're a good photographer.
I love taking photographs, and yep, I'll send you guys some.
Well, we're not talking about pictures today. We're talking about Katherine being a writer. And when I first met, I've known Katherine for a long time, but I had no idea that you wrote romance novels.
I do, yeah.
And I started working with Kit, and I'm like, what do you mean, Katherine's romance novels? And he goes, yeah, these are her books. And of course, then I had to ask Kit a million questions. But now you're here to answer these questions.
Yes, I'm here to talk with you about all my books.
So I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you just take over and kind of get into how you got started as a writer and
sure.
How does this happen?
It was kind of a strange, my writing began when I was actually 15 years ago, and I woke up from a dream with this World War I scene in my head. I don't really know how else to explain it, but it was very vivid, and I decided to try to write it down, thinking, oh, this would be a great book, this little scene that I had in my head that kind of pieced together into other things. And I got about 2 paragraphs into it and then laughed and said, what are you doing? You're not a writer. This is, you're not a novelist. And I stuck it aside. I named it Book, very clever.
Just called it
Book. That was what it was called on my computer. And then it was, 8 years ago, I had knee surgery, and I was stuck in my bed with my leg up in the air, and I decided to go clean out all of my old computer files, and I see this file called Book. And I was like, what is this? And I opened it up, and I remembered all of the details. I mean, as if I'd watched a movie. I remembered that idea that I had in my head, and I decided to pick it up again. So after 2 paragraphs, and it had been, I think, 8 or 9 years, I started writing that book again, and by the time my knee had healed, I had a book done, and it was very surreal and very crazy because I had never thought I was a writer before that. I mean, I liked writing, for fun, but then after that, I'd the bug had hit me, and I just started writing book after book after book. And I think I had my 4th book written before I decided to pursue publishing, because that's, writing a book and then getting a book published are 2 different animals. So I started hunting agents and publishers.
I want to stop you for 1 second, because everyone is probably wondering, did you still keep that book named Book?
It did not, although.
Because that's one question that we're going to go, what happened with the book?
It is actually, this is the book. This is the book is now called A War Within.
A War Within.
And it's a World War I romance that did finally get a title from my publisher, and that was not Book.
Okay.
But the fun part is that file, it went from one folder called Book with my 1 book, and it now has 22 books in it, but I still leave it titled Book, no S, because it's just kind of a fun reminder to myself that
that's how you started.
This is how I started. Yep.
Oh my
so
gosh,
I have a folder
great
called
story.
Book,
I love
and then
that
you open
story.
it, and it's just full of cover art and editing reviews and all sorts of stuff. But
that's great story.
But yeah, that's how it got started, was with my book, my 1 book, and then I got a publishing contract on a different book actually that started the whole career, and off we went. So now we're 15 published books later, and I should have 6 more out by this time next year, and it's been a lot of fun. I love it. Yeah, it's something I do because I enjoy. I can't not do it. Sometimes I think I'm so tired between my real life and all this stuff that maybe I should slow down my writing, but every time I think about it, I'm off on the keyboard again.
Yeah, well, stick to something that works, because you're doing something that works. And it's your dream. But when do you find time to write? Like, you have a full-time job.
I do.
I
Yeah.
follow you on Facebook sometimes with all your animals,
Yep.
and I'm a little jealous of the ducks.
They are so fun.
And the little horse and everything, and yeah. But anyhow, how do you find time with everything else going on to write?
This is where I, like, sometimes I'll stop and be like, what are you doing? You know, you gotta pick something, like something has to give. But at the moment, I write usually between 10:30 at night and 2:30 to 3 o'clock in the morning is my, like, I just write. And it's my time of the night because the world is quiet at that point. No one is there to call me, bother me, and I can just, like, put on my headphones and, like, disappear into whatever world my books have taken me into. So that's my preferred writing time, but then I have to be up at 7:30 to start taking care of my horses and my dogs and my cat and my ducks and my geese, because I have a very large menagerie of animals. And
Which
so
I love. Yeah.
they're so fun, and they are not work at all. They take a lot of
That's
time,
like your
but
family.
yeah, they're my
your
kids.
babies.
I love them.
Yeah.
So I don't sleep a lot, essentially, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then I write very fast. That is something, and I'm getting even faster as I go along. But so for me, when I write, like this book, the other half took me 2 weeks to write. And it's just, but because I disappear into the world, and I write not so much like I'm crafting a story, more like I'm a court, reporter, like following along, like I'm like a stalker of the characters, and I'm just following them on their journey, and I just write it down as fast as it comes out. It's like I'm watching a movie and I'm standing in the room and just, saying what happens, who's saying what. I'm not thinking of what they're saying. They're just saying it.
It just
comes out. And sometimes it surprises me to the point where I'll be typing and I'll type something and then I'm laughing at what the character said. And it's something it sounds so crazy, but I didn't create that in my head. I didn't say, oh, Mark should say this. That would be funny. He just said it. And now I'm laughing, and my husband's looking at me like I'm crazy because he's sitting next to me, and I'm, laughing away at my keyboard. And I'm like, oh, Mark just said the funniest
like
thing.
magical.
It is magical. And it's something I didn't realize. Now that I'm like in the authoring world, and I've made so many amazing writer friends. I mean, talk about a supportive community. I mean, people will absolutely help you out. There's no cutthroatness to it, even though we're technically competing, like we're all selling the same books. Everybody's helping everyone, but it was so fun when I met all these.
Is it because everybody's been in your shoes,
Yeah,
like to start out
yeah,
with? And
absolutely.
Everybody had to struggle up.
Yep, and I help. I mean, lots of other writers who are now up and coming. I'll teach them. This is what you need to know. Here's the the pits I fell into. Like, go around those. But it's fun now to have all these authors in my life who think like I do. They have these characters that live inside their head, and it doesn't make you feel so crazy that you have like humans, laughing in your head and saying funny stuff, and you're, when I had this book called, this is so funny, The Wilder Widows is this book I wrote, it'll be 2 years ago now, and I stopped at my mom's road, which is Wilder Lane, and I don't know what happened, but I looked at the sign, the Wilder Road sign, and it was like a movie, just went into my head so fast about the Wilder widows, and it was these 4 widows who were going to go on this crazy adventure. And I drove away, and I got home, and I thought, gosh, that would be a hilarious book, like really funny. And these 4 widows got into my head so bad. I was writing another project. I was over here, and I kept trying to quiet them in the corner, but they were so loud that I would go to the Piggly Wiggly and be, picking up a head of lettuce, and Marge would say something in my head to Doris, and I would start laughing. I mean, openly gut laughing by myself in the Piggly Wiggly, to where people are staring at me now, and I'm trying to now say, I'm not crazy. It's these widows are living in my head, are talking, because that doesn't make you sound completely nuts.
So interesting.
So I had to go write their book, and then they go quiet. Like, as soon as I write the story, everything stops. And so I went to my writer friends and I said, this is what's happening, and it's so nice to have other people that get that you just have these.
Does it happen to them too?
Oh yeah, all the writers I know have the same thing happening. You just have these like personalities, and scenes are popping in your head, and it's very vivid, and it's fun though. And then when you get to put it on paper and you see that, and then when the book comes out and you're holding it and you're seeing it all, this idea that I had in my head, these like people that lived there are now out in the world. It's like kind of like putting your kids out in the
Do
world.
you ever forget something? Like if you were at the grocery store and the head of lettuce and Marge is talking, do you think, I got to quick write that down or I'll forget it?
Absolutely. I keep my iPhone is with me 24/7, and I have voice notes that everything goes into a voice note. As soon as I get an idea, it goes into my...
Because they're like a deja vu.
Very much so.
Sometimes they last a second and then you can't...
all the time. And sometimes I do miss them, and then I get home and I spend hours trying to remember what that was that I thought was so awesome, and now it's,
That's so cool.
frustrating, but
I love that.
it's fun.
So when you finish a book then and you pick it up and then do you read it? Do you read your whole book after you're done?
I do. It takes multiple rounds of editing to get it to, from my head to in print. So you end up reading your book 6-7 times before it actually gets out to
Because
in
you
print.
might want to make changes okay.
And because I write so fast, because I'm just transcribing what I'm seeing, putting from my head onto the page, I don't focus a lot on sentence structure and making it pretty. I just
punctuation.
I just dump it. I dump it onto the page as fast as I can. So then the second draft, when I go back, that's when I start to build. Maybe I'll decide some things need to be moved around.
Like you get out the red pen and
start going. And then the third round is when I start to really work on grammar and all that. But then it goes off to the editors and the proofreaders, and then it comes back, and then we kind of go back and forth. So it's a process. I mean, it definitely takes a lot.
But when you read the book, do you feel like, wow, I can't believe I wrote that?
Definitely.
Or do you remember everything? Or do you just feel like, wow, I feel like I'm reading someone else's book?
Usually like I'm reading someone else's book. When it's all said and done, like if I was to pick up, one of these, I haven't read, this one in a while, it feels kind of shocking sometimes that wow, that was in my head. I wrote that. How weird. That exists because I thought of it. And it's fun. It's kind of cool to have that. And especially when you get them in print and you get to hold the book, the idea from your head is now a physical copy, and that's really fun. I love that.
Were you always a reader, and then you just kind of liked that whole concept of reading books, and then one day when you had the dream, you just became a writer? Were you always a reader, or liked certain kinds of books?
Surprisingly, I was not a huge reader. I used to be when I was young, but I was more a writer than a reader. I mean, I do like reading, but for some reason, that was more of my time. If you put a book in front of me or a notepad when I was a kid, I was going to the notepad to
getting everything down,
to write the story,
and everything, instead of reading other people's
stuff.
Yeah.
I love reading now, especially as an author. It's important to read other people's work and learn from them, and that's something that they really, our editors are always like, before you publish this book, you've already written it, but you need to go read 10 books in that genre and make sure that you're not falling in any, pitfalls that somebody else went through.
Right.
So I do tend to do that. But yeah, I was a writer more than a reader.
Okay, so why don't you tell us a little bit about your books? What's your favorite one? I mean, try to tell us a little bit what they're about.
Well,
I heard they're pretty risque.
I've got a couple risque ones here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, like you say, I'm gonna have to read one because I have never really read one. I'm guilty about that, but I'm guilty of a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I would love to probably read one of your books. So, what would you recommend my first starting book?
I would say for you, because you're a Door County girl, you would read this one first. So this is part of the Door Peninsula series, the Peninsula Passions. This one is the first one of the series. Every part of this book takes place in Door County. So in this book, she's working at the Blue Ox. You end up at, they end up in this one at Stabur. They go drinking at Stabur, and she works at JJ's. And so these are really fun if you're a Door County person, because you'll recognize, the bartender names. I worked in really authentic stuff, like little Easter eggs for people who actually live here. They're like, hey, that's me. I know that guy. So these are romantic comedies that take place in Door County. This one's a standalone romantic comedy that takes place partially in Door County, partially in Italy. It's about a couple who met here when they were 18 working at Wilson's in the summer, and then it's 10 years later and they're reconnecting, but they do come to Door County. And So those are, and I have, I didn't bring
Which
everything,
I'm
but
familiar with all of those three because I was the shipper at Al's.
Sure.
And we were shipping those at Christmas time during COVID. We couldn't keep those in stock. We were always bothering you for more
Sure,
books. Like,
yep.
hey, we need more books. We need more books. And now that I've jumped over to the boutique, we were out forever, and now
Yeah.
we have a good stock in. But people read a lot during COVID right
Yeah.
now in the lockdown. So offering the books has been. We sell a ton of books at Al's
Sure.
too. I mean, every week I have to put a book order in because we don't have Book World up here anymore. We don't have like a bookstore. When people come up here and they're looking for something to read, your 3 books are one of our top sellers.
Well, thanks.
And your 3 books, just so everybody knows, Katherine's books are all, if you buy them online at aljohnsons.com, they're signed by you.
Yep.
And also in our boutique, if you buy her books in our store, she also autographed those as well.
Yeah.
So if you want to buy a book locally or through our website, she's actually signed them.
I do. I signed the books.
She's
for you.
famous.
Yeah, it's fun
I know, I love it. Okay, and then what about The War Within?
So these are, I have some like historical romance. I write in multi-genre. This is something where if I was a smarter writer, I would pick a genre and stay in it, and it's much easier for marketing. But because I get my ideas in dreams and in random places, I've just write whatever story wants to come. So if it's paranormal romance, that's what I write. If it's historical romance, that's what I write. And
So Into the Night is paranormal
this one's
romance?
vampires. This is actually my top selling series. This one
I'm
is
sure anything with a vampire in
it's
it.
so funny when publishers were initially like, vampires are oversold, and no one's buying vampires. Well, let me tell you, when I first started telling people I was a writer, they were like, "Do you write vampire romance?" I was like, "They still want their vampire
Everybody
books.
wants that.
Everybody wants their vampire books."
Yeah.
So this is a part of a 3-set series, and I have my historical romances, pirates, and all sorts of adventure. The Wilder Widows, which is probably my personal favorite, which is about these 4.
I was just going to ask you, what's your personal
I think it would be the
favorite?
Wilder Widows,
The
just
Wilder
because they were
Widows.
so loud in my head, and the story is so funny.
And how old are the ladies in the book?
They're between 60 and mid-70s,
Okay.
and they are all widows, and they, it just starts with all of them deciding they're going to try to each fulfill their one crazy wish that now that their kids are gone, their husbands are gone, and they're kind of bored in their life, and so they end up on this like absolutely hilarious, like heartwarming but hilarious journey. These
And
4
they all
women
go
on.
together.
They all go together. Yep.
Okay.
And so each
like
part
Sex
of-
in the City, but a little older
yeah,
clientele.
yeah, and they're just,
Yeah.
they're all kind of have their very own personality, and that was one where I had zero control over what they said. So
They were just telling
they
you.
were just saying stuff, and I was just following along, and I was laughing so hard that whole time I wrote that book, and
That makes me want to read it now.
it's really fun. I will get you a
I'll read
copy.
that
You'll
one,
you'll
yeah.
think it's pretty funny. So
That's
But that
awesome.
one's my top seller. I mean, and it goes fast, and I actually get what I love is I get emails from people. I mean, every day from people who read this book, but a lot of them are from widows who have read this book. And it wasn't, I'm not a widow. Hopefully I'm never a widow. I don't have any experience from that, so I was actually a little nervous when I put it out that maybe, somebody might be
You don't
offended.
know what it's like. You don't know,
"Oh."
yeah.
I get so many emails from widows saying, I read this book and I am getting off the couch. I'm going to go do some crazy
So you
stuff.
kind of inspire them to
Yeah,
get
it's really fun.
And I mean, I get that you're in your funk because we all grieve in different
Yeah.
ways, and you'll always grieve, but
Yeah.
you still have to live your life and get out there, and that's kind
Yeah.
of cool that the ladies think.
It's fun, and so I love getting
They
those
get a
emails.
little spark in them.
Yeah, so I just
Really?
got an email from a woman who had read the book, and she took her dream vacation that she's like, I'm 74. I have been putting it off. My husband and I put it off because we were working, and then
Oh my gosh,
he
that's
passed away,
great.
and it was like 5 years I've been sitting here, and she said, so I booked the ticket, and I just wanted you to know. And I thought that
All by
was-
yourself.
All by herself. She's going on this vacation all by
love it.
herself, and yeah, I thought that was really neat.
That's great.
So that's the one I would tell you to check out. Otherwise,
I
the
will.
Door
I'm
County
gonna
book
check
is
them out.
fun.
Yeah, I've got some good reading time this winter to get onto the books. And I know that you do sell books to us, but if somebody wanted to purchase your books, where do they go to get them?
So my books are all in Kindle Unlimited. So if you are looking for digital copies, you go on Amazon, you'll find all my books there. Otherwise, KatherineHastings.com is the other place that you'll find them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then digital meaning, we were talking about
Yeah,
that a little
like
bit.
Kindle books, like
the Kindle
yep.
books and things like that. And what about the Audible books? Are they available on
I
Audible?
do have the Immortal Hearts series is now available as audiobooks, and the rest of them, they're interviewing narrators right now, which is really fun to hear your books like come to life.
Yeah.
So these are the next ones that'll go are the Door County series is going to be turned into audiobooks hopefully by middle of next year. It takes a long time to get the narrators, and then they have to record everything and
Because
get it all produced.
When I'm driving in a car, I like that kind of thing where they're just
Yeah.
kind of telling a story, or you can just drive and pay attention, but you can listen.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I listened to, I can't remember which book it was, one of the Janet Ivanovich ones. On my way, I drove from Florida straight through back to Door County, and that's what was, so my sister and I put a book on, and we just, and before you know it, we were home. I was like, holy
Yes.
cats, like, I don't even feel like we drove at all, but we were like immersed in this, book world at the time.
Do you ever put yourself as a character in your book?
I don't put myself in there necessarily. Like, there's like things that I've said or done, or experiences that I've had that definitely like weave in. Like pretty much all of my friends, my poor husband, everything he does ends up in my
I heard a rumor
books.
about your husband.
What's that?
The covers of your books. I heard that they're based on your husband.
Oh yes, I don't know if you've seen my husband.
I've seen your husband. He's a hottie.
He is definitely as hotter than my book covers. But there are so he inspired. I mean, he truly is amazing.
Does he think he's the?
He doesn't. When I first met him and he walked in, I was working at the Sister Bay Bowl, and he walked in, and I was, back in the day, I was a cool cucumber, like, I never got flustered. He came in and he had these ice blue eyes and this dark hair, and I got so flustered, I started dropping glasses. I was working with Eddie, who was laughing so hard. He's like, what is wrong with you? I was like, I don't know, this guy is so hot. And by the time we started dating, he still would get me so flustered that every time he'd come into the bowl when I was bartending there, I would start dropping glasses and breaking glasses, and to the point where, like, on a busy weekend, my co-bartender Eddie would be like, you need to go, you need to get out of here, Kate can't focus when you're here, and I'm just giggling, and we've been dating for months at that point, and he still gives me all the letters, but yeah, he inspires. I mean, part of him is in every single romance hero in my book, and we sometimes, if you have like for getting the book covers, like if we're looking for something really specific and you have cover models doing something and maybe like something is just off about their arm or whatever, I have my husband pose and we take the picture and then he gets photoshopped into. So he's actually like, this is actually my husband's arm here.
That is so funny.
Got photoshopped.
And I know his parents, and I always think, I wonder what his parents think. That's him on the cover.
He's like, he's not like, we
That's my
sneak
son,
little
my
parts
baby.
of him on there. Yeah, he definitely is a good inspiration for romance novels.
Awesome.
We'll say
I love that.
Yeah, he's
That
awesome.
is great. I like that.
And he's
a
so
lot.
supportive of all of this. When I'm up in the middle of the night clicking away, and I know I've woken him up, but he doesn't.
Has he
care.
read any of your books?
He doesn't read any of my books.
He's
yeah.
never read one?
No, and that's why I'm always like, don't read it. It's an author. It's like weird having.
You
people
don't want him to read
No,
it?
I don't want him to read it. I wouldn't mind, but
does he want to?
he's never said anything. I mean, they're mostly romance novels. They're not exactly
Like
his
his thing,
Yeah, he's like
yeah.
a manly man. Like I don't think he would really be too
Sure.
too into them. But you never know. There's actually
you
a
never
lot
know.
of men who read romance, which I did not know until I got into the genre. That it's like there's like a whole secret world of like men that read romance, it's awesome. I think it's really great that they
Yeah.
get inspired to go take care of your lady, take her out for
Well,
dinner,
then they know
be
how to get out there and
romantic.
treat a lady.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you can
Yeah.
learn a lot of what women want. Like a romance novel is like the sparkles and it's all amazing. It's not totally real life, but if you read it, you can really get a feel of this is what women want. I mean,
Yeah.
we want all this amazing
Yeah,
stuff.
did you hear
and
that, people? You need to read the book, men,
You gotta
because this
get
is
the-
what your lady friends are looking
It's what
for.
they want.
You
It's-
can learn some pointers.
Yeah, there's
Little
a-
tips from
There's
Catherine.
a reason romance is the top-selling genre because
Yes.
women want that romance.
Yeah, everybody wants that.
Yeah.
They always say, "Oh, it's not like that," but it can be sometimes.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be like it every day, but it could be sometimes.
Absolutely.
I mean, life happens every day, and it can't always be romantic, but there can be times when it can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know. I read spy and espionage and killing books. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, and I'm a woman, and I haven't read your books, but I mean, I will read your books. I'm going to. But I think that vice versa, you
Yeah.
know, that everybody should read a variety of different things.
Yeah,
So
I like getting out and doing all sorts of different. When I do read, I like to jump into other genres, and yeah, it's fun. And I heard you might have a book in you someday.
I do have a book in mind.
Tell me about this book you've got.
Well, I'll tell you. I always say I'm going to write this book, and it would be a great book. I just don't know how, you know how you say you can get everything on paper and it just comes to you, comes to you, comes to you? Everything comes to me, but I can't get it on paper. That's my problem. Like, things come to me and stories come to me and things come to me, but I'm not like you. I can't write them down like that quickly. And if I did, I see what your point is. You just gave me a good tip. It doesn't matter how messy it is or the paragraphs or the punctuations. You just want to get it on paper so you don't forget about it and you use it at one point.
Yep.
But mine would be about my whole life working at Al Johnson's.
Which would be
and,
so fun.
I've worked in many, many, many other restaurants and bars and things like that. But I know the ins and the outs of being a server, a bartender, a busser, a dishwasher, a prep cook, a cook. I mean, I can do it all, and I know all the pet peeves and all the ups and downs and all the funny stuff that happens in restaurants. And the reason I chose the title for my book, it's going to be called Waiting on Fries. And it's not waiting on fries, it's waiting on fries.
Waiting on
and there's
fries.
a reason why we're waiting on fries. A long time ago, when we call our orders in. So the cooks have to remember everything down the line. So every single item on the menu comes with French fries. Everything, back then. You didn't get a choice. They just come with fries.
Right.
And there I am with my tray and all my food, and there's 4 servers breathing down my neck because they want their turn because their food's coming up. And they're like, "Are you done? Are you done?" I'm like, "I'm waiting on fries." And they're like, "Oh, waiting on fries." And we're always waiting on fries. And that was the big joke for the servers.
Waiting on fries.
Like, how is the French fryer not working 24 hours
Right.
a day? Like, why don't you guys dump fries?
And I worked in the restaurant world for a long time too, so I get it. And it's like a whole different world back there. I
and
mean,
you can't take all your burgers out and say, "I'll be back with all the French fries later." I mean, that's not going to
You're waiting
happen.
on fries.
You need to bring out the hot food and what? Cold fries? I don't think so. And the other problem with waiting on fries, and the whole the word irony about the pet peeve and the difficult world of waiting on tables, but then you also have to wait back there in the kitchen too. You're just constantly waiting and
It
waiting
is a lot of waiting.
and waiting, and the stress about between you and the cooks and then the people and you. You're always the go-between, and it's just all this like stuff going on. And so the waiting on fries part isn't just I'm waiting on fries because it takes a long time to get the fries.
Yeah,
it's not something we all know what timing is. And I mean, I can get a grilled sandwich in 2 minutes, but if I have to wait for French fries, it's 5. And 5 might sound not so bad, but not when all your food's up and you still haven't gotten your
hungry
French fries.
customers. You know, you want to get your guests
So like my whole
fed.
point isn't really about the French fries. It's about like what goes on that makes things funny or hard or tweet. And I'm sure the people say, "Well, that's been written a million times over." Yeah, by someone else, but I have my own theory about that. And I always say, I still want to write that book, Waiting on Fries. I mean, I have all my people that would love to put their input in the book. I mean, they all been there waiting on fries. I mean, look how many people worked at Al's.
A lot.
I mean, everyone I know since I was born has been a server.
My
there.
mother-in-law worked at Al's.
Yeah,
She was a
I mean,
waitress
I could ask
there. And
many people. I mean, I could do an audio book
I worked
on
for
it.
you actually across the street. That was my second job when I was 14.
And your sister worked for us. And as a matter of fact, I might be getting her confused with someone else, but I thought your sister, or it could have been someone else. I don't know why I remember. Did she date my cousin Bo at all? Your sister?
No.
Then I'm thinking of someone else, but we waited on the same table twice. Like, brought out the meatball dinner, and then like, after they were done eating, she brought out another meatball dinner for the table.
That
and
was
like,
not Anna, luckily. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we already had dinner. We're ready for dessert. And she's like, oh, like skirted
Who
back.
hasn't done that as a server at some point?
I was thinking it was your sister, but I have a feeling it was Jane Trenchard.
Oh yeah.
Yes, remember?
I haven't
'cause
seen her in
It
forever.
was hilarious. Yeah, it was just. But that's the funny parts I remember. I remember all kinds of funny and good and bad.
Well, I'm going to help you write your book. I'm going to get you
waiting on fries.
get it on paper.
You're going to be waiting on Annika.
I'm going to get Annika writing.
Yeah,
Be good for
we'll
you.
see. Well, I say everybody should read Katherine Hastings' books, and I'm going to be one of your first people that start reading them because I
thank
just
you.
think that they look interesting. Again, I don't have a lot of time, and whenever I pick up a book, I'm always like, like sleeping.
Right.
So sometimes I got to get those audiobooks.
Well, soon we'll have audio audio is one of the biggest things in, everybody's kind of switching to audio. So
yeah, I still love the feel of a book. Like
Yeah.
I still like it in my hands, and I love them. And everybody needs to get Katherine Hastings' books because she is a really good writer.
Well, thanks.
But thank you for joining
Yeah,
us
thanks
today
for
on Door
having
County
me.
Girl.
It was
And
fun.
good luck with all your next copies.
Thank you. It's gonna be.
And-
I got 2 more coming out in the next 7 weeks, so I'm gonna be doing my thing over here.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
it'll
it.
be fun.
Well, thanks for joining us for another episode
for
of Door
having
County Girl, everybody. But don't forget to press like and subscribe in the corner, and we'll let you know when another little interesting person comes along, like my friend Katherine. So, bye everyone. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Door County Girl. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time.